Welcome to Bruce Hurwitz Presents Meet the Experts. I'm your host, Bruce Hurwitz of Hurwitz Strategic Staffing. You can find us on the web at hsstaffing.com. I hope you will consider us for all your staffing, career counseling, and speech writing needs. Meet the Experts is sponsored by P&K CPAs. P&K is a full-service accounting firm. They provide accounting and consulting services to businesses ranging from startups to small and mid-cap companies to nonprofits, as well as high net worth individuals. Contact them today for a free consultation at pkcpas.com or call them at 973-882-8810. They will be happy to be of service. I am delighted to be joined today by Dr. Deanna Rangaves. Deanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, it's my pleasure. Take a moment or two and please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Well, my first career was as a clinical pharmacist. I still am a clinical pharmacist. I worked my way up in management to leadership roles, then segued to academia and was a tenured professor for 15 years at a college, teaching multiple courses in multiple disciplines and doing a lot of curriculum. And mapping over that, I started my own consulting firm, clinicalconsultantservices.com, and have celebrated our 10th anniversary this month. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I created 2 books. The one we're going to be talking about today is Escape into Excellence. It's a leadership book, and one of the aspects is how do leaders deal with disappointment.
And with that, I want to share a slide that you were kind enough to prepare. So we begin with self-control and calmness, and this is rather apropos. I'm sure you didn't hear about this, but a week ago, 2 Israeli pilots were in an F-15 on a training mission, and I believe they were at 30,000 feet, and the canopy of the F-15 flew off unintentionally. So they've got winds that who knows how strong they are. The temperature was something like 41 or 42 degrees below zero, and at that range, it doesn't matter if you're talking Celsius or Fahrenheit. And they panicked. For about 5 seconds, the pilot and the navigator were definitely in panic mode, and then they calmed down. And the pilot asked the navigator if he was all right. He said he was. The navigator asked the pilot, and then they contacted the control tower and safely landed. So that's self-control and calmness in probably the most extreme environment possible. It's obviously not that extreme for business leaders. So talk to us about self-control and calmness for business leaders. Why is this something they must master? Seems kind of obvious.
You hit the nail right on the head with that wonderful example. The first response, the first hit, the first resonance that we get is emotion. And it takes us into panic mode if we allow it. Through practice and training and using various techniques, we can quickly master it, swallow it for the moment, and move on. We have to let that emotion run for the split second. It's a chemical bath that bathes our brain in neurotransmitters.
So that brings us then to your third bullet point about the process of visuals and emotions. So you say it's 5 times faster than information, the processing, so we're naturally wired to get upset. Explain what that's all about.
The first hit, if you feel someone snubs you, if you don't get a quick response in an email, we start to spin. And it creates a feedback loop with norepinephrine, epinephrine, all our emotional hormones, and we start to cycle. And the idea is to put a light on that or awareness of it. If you know that all of a sudden you're emotional, distance yourself mentally, step back, breathe, take a moment. One of the techniques is pause. You know, just press the pause button. Nothing really is immediate. Your pilots had their 5 seconds, and then they brought it under control and safely landed. And we want to safely land every project, every interaction, every culture, as far as business cultures, interactions. We have a chance every single day experientially to practice these techniques, whether it's for the TV repairman or talking to someone that you've hired that is not performing well. So it's taking the emotional piece out and taking a higher view of it and not internalizing it as a me thing. It's looking at it as a bigger picture in the system.
I deal with this all the time with career counseling clients. For example, literally an hour ago, I received an email from one of my clients who had sent an email to a hiring manager with whom he had been in contact in the past. And they have an interesting system. Whenever they respond to an email, whenever they read an email, the person who sent the email to which they're responding gets an automated email saying your email was read at such and such a time. So 20 minutes later, he sends me an email and says, this guy opened my email 20 minutes ago and I still haven't heard from him.
Mm-hmm.
You're stressed. You're not panicking. This is not the canopy flying off of your jet at 30,000 feet at 40 degree below zero temperatures. You're stressed because you're worried about paying your bills. So it's a different level, but it happens all the time, and the responses I give are always the same. And for the most part, they're accurate. The guy had a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anything could have happened. The phone
right.
rang.
Pause. Just pause. It's the main thing on your plate, but you're not the main thing on someone else's plate. They will get to you in line. And so, another process is it's a divine delay. We have no control over it. It's a divine delay until you see what the response is. Once you get the response, then you can initiate a contact.
It sounds like the old adage, don't worry about things you can't do anything about.
Pretty much. You do the best that you can. If you know internally you have done your best, that you have followed your internal guidance system, that you have followed your guidance, that your intent was clean, then you have to release it. Otherwise, what happens, which we had talked about in a previous session, was we start to get that anxiety. It fills up a feedback loop, and our cells are not the healthiest that they could be.
Now let's proceed on, because there's another slide that you prepared. So here we have 3 practical tools leaders can use. We have a STAR template, a press technique, and a reframe. So I'm going to leave this up for a few more seconds so that people can read it. And let's look at each one individually. So what is this STAR template?
Okay, so these are just 3 samplings of examples that are available in Escape into Excellence. It's a management leadership ethics book. The first one was put the slide back, I forgot.
Oh, okay.
I can talk about them all, but I'm not going to do them in order. I'm human.
Well, the first was STAR, the second was press.
STAR, great. That's the only hint I needed. STAR technique. You use it in recruiting. Situation, task, analysis, result. Before you have to make any important decision, write this down. Look at it as a situation or task. What is it that you would like to accomplish? Analyze it. Here are all the things that go into it. What am I looking at? What am I missing? Is there something I'm missing? Is there something I'm assuming that I shouldn't be? And then you resolve to do the result. So then you make the decision to call someone, to draft an email. And you never send an email right after you've drafted. You put it away for a while. And then the situation task analysis starts again. And it just cycles through until we climb that ladder to hit the goal that we want. So situation, task, analysis, result.
A lot of people have difficulty analyzing because they're stressed out, they've got the tension.
Right.
What is the best process for analyzing a situation?
Asking why. And you might not get the answer right away. I know people want it now. We are in a self-gratification mode. But you know what? Breathe, go for a walk, do what you do. There's no one best. Everyone is an individual. We all have a different neurotransmitter fingerprint. Before you go to bed at night, write it down. Ask why. And I bet by the morning you will have much better clarity. Nothing is that urgent that can't wait till you get a good night's sleep on it. So the best question is why?
I have found, and I'm not trying to be funny, and if anybody Googles this, they'll see that there is a vast library of examples of people making critical decisions in the shower. Because when you're in the shower, you shouldn't have to concentrate on what you're doing. It should pretty well be second nature. And no one's going to disturb you.
Correct. You've got
and
quiet
you're able
time.
to think.
That's right.
What other tricks, if that's the right word, do you have?
Some of my clients bicycle. They'll get on their stationary bicycle and work up a sweat. It's when your mind is empty of all those thoughts that the higher vibrational thought will be allowed to come in. When your brain is clouded with emotion, when you've got those neurotransmitters coming in, nothing else is able to come in. But in the shower, when we're bicycling, we're walking in nature, we're petting our dogs, we're going to sleep or waking up in that mid-sleep, we don't have as much of that going on. We don't have that noise. We don't have that interference. So we're able to see the higher level of, yeah, that's a good idea. I don't know where that floated in from, but that's a good idea. And then we take that and start looking at it.
Okay, so we've dealt with STAR. What's this press?
Press technique is a means to communicate where you slow things down a bit. It's pause, repeat, empathy, solve. So if you're having a heated discussion or just a discussion, you want to, that you're starting to feel your anxiety levels going up, or you got that shot in your stomach where this butterflies or the cold or your heart starts to beat faster, just pause. Just look at the person and smile, nod, that you're acknowledging that they are speaking, that you're listening to them. No longer speaking, you're listening to them. We have our initial emotional response is to attack and to yell over them, to speak over them, and we never hear. When you get that initial, well, I'm going to out loud them, close your mouth and let them talk and let them, and just listen. You're not going to hear what they say because your emotional level is here, but the pause is to bring it down to here. The next thing is repeat. So you're upset because I understand that this can be annoying, and it's because I just want to see if I get this so that I'm understanding this so that we can solve this together. Repeat.
So by repeating, you're basically sending the message, I was actually listening to what you were saying and I heard.
Yes. and you are parroting and mirroring them. It's called the mirror neurons. Google mirror neurons. And people like it when you mirror. During interviews, if you mirror your interviewer in how they've crossed their legs sometimes and how they've tilted their head, you build up a connection with them. And the interview tends to go a lot better than if you feel you're in your ego stance and this is, I'm going to take control. But when we mirror people, when we repeat back, we build empathy, which is the next thing. It shows that you've listened, that you are in a collaborative mood, that you are willing to work with them, not power over them, and you can come to some sort of solution. At that point, you can suggest a solution, and they may or may not be open to it yet. If you try to skip some steps and go, you're listening to them, you don't do pause, you don't do repeat, you don't do E, and go right to the solution. It's like you wanted to go from New York to Paris in 5 seconds and not take the QE2 across the ship, across the ocean to see all the wonderful sights. And they're not ready to hear your solution yet. So this works very well in customer service. It works very well in academia. It works well with spouses and significant others and friends. So it's just slowing the conversation down and using pause, repeat, empathy, and then solve. If we go right to solve, they're not ready.
Problem I have is with mirroring, because I've seen people try to do this and they don't really mirror. What they're doing is the exact same thing as the other person. The other person puts their hand up, they put their hand up. And it reminds me of an old Marx Brothers routine where two of the brothers are dressed in the same way, and they're standing in front of a pane of glass, and they mimic each other as though the glass is really a mirror.
I remember that one.
It's very funny, but it doesn't come off very well in an interview.
No.
You look ridiculous.
And your position and posture need to be natural and authentic. If you're phony in every way because you didn't do your homework or you're trying to scam or pull something over on somebody, it's going to come off as phony. But otherwise, it's not something you do consciously. It's something that you've put in your head that I have done and prepared the best I can for this challenge, for this problem, for this opportunity. And it comes across very naturally, and you don't even know you're doing it because you're in sync with the other person.
So let's now go to our last point, and I'll show it again to our viewers, which is reframing.
Mm-hmm.
So this calls for us to flip and read upside down and backwards, which is something I cannot do. Explain what this means. I'd be a terrible spy.
Take the mental picture of what's going on in your head, flip it upside down and or backwards, and sit with it for a while. And watch and be aware of your thinking. For me, I have to journal it. I write pictures, I use color pens, I put it in my journal when I'm working on a problem. And watch your thinking. We want to be aware of our thinking and see where did that idea come from? Why do I feel that way? This is an exercise not only in reframing, but reflection. And what else could it be? And why am I taking this personally? And it's not personal. We tend to internalize a lot of different things. And always, again, I go back to the question, what else could it be? And the why. And eventually you will see that, you know what? Good thing I didn't act on that because it really was this. I made a terrible assumption. I'm going to learn from this misstep and watch for the next time. Patterns repeat. And until we have a lot of practice at it, we repeat the patterns and we are always given another opportunity to self-correct. Always.
Can reframing change the solution?
Yes. Because it depends on the perceptual field. Absolutely, it can change the solution. And that's why you want to do your pause, and that's why you want to do your situation task analysis.
We've covered the major points. We started with self-control and calmness, which to my thinking is really putting yourself in the proper psychological framework to be a rational decision maker.
It also, if I can interject, putting yourself physically, corporally into the right framework. You cannot do this when you're in a high stress situation with family, friends, people screaming at you. You need to say pause and go. Remove yourself from the toxic culture, situation, person for the moment, because you're going to need to deal and learn how to do this. They're life skills, they're life learning skills. Leaders, as we know, are not born. We learn these skills. So physically, you might need to shut the phone off. Put it away an hour before bed and you don't look at it. You're done. You have to take that space physically, emotionally, mentally, and as you said, psychologically.
There is a commercial now for a new mental health service that's an app, and that you call a mental health provider and you speak over your phone. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe it's texting. I doubt it, but maybe it's texting. And that seems to be a new wave in mental health counseling, utilizing the technology. Now, we have that also for physical ailments, where a nurse practitioner, a physician can look at you. They don't have to touch you. They can see what the problem is, and they can prescribe medication or some other solution. Not a big deal. Mm-hmm. If they see that your shoulder has turned black and it hurts, it's pretty safe to assume that it's dislocated and get to the emergency room. But if your nose is all red and your eyes are running, you got a cold. You don't have to spend an hour going to and from the doctor just to be told, drink plenty of fluids and take whatever the over-the-counter remedy is. What types of technology exist today that can help people overcome the stress of decision-making, that can make the entire process easier?
We have lots of tools. Our ancestors also had lots of tools. These are tools and really need to be looked at as tools. I have my own developed tools. I have them above me mentally in little apothecary jars. And okay, I need a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and let's try this. Oh, that didn't work. That was too much. Misstep, let me self-correct. We are connected now in so many different ways versus having a shaman or tribal leader or priest or somebody in our family that was the wisdom person who has been through this and run patterns. Where technology also disconnects us in a lot of ways. Whatever tool you find resonates with you that doesn't get you hooked into another cycle of pattern repeats are valid. Books, you have a whole bookshelf. In my time, I read books. My library was the free source of books. I would go in and walk the shelves. Oh, this cover looks good. This title looks good. I wanted to read about this. And I would leave with 6 books a month. That was my teacher. And I would glean what I pulled from that. You're not going to like everything a book reads. You're not going to like everything a podcast says. You're not going to like everything an app says. You use the pieces that go, aha, your aha moments. You use the piece that says, oh, that's resonating with me. That word is sticking in my head. You know, like those songs. The word keeps repeating and repeating in my ear. I think it was a Cole Porter song. Yeah. Everybody has their own unique print. and use whatever tool is necessary for however long you need it.
Diana, I want to thank you for coming back on. You were a guest on my audio podcast. Before I let you go, please tell our listeners how they can get in touch.
Well, this is my email address, and my website is clinicalconsultantservices.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, under my name, Diana Rangaves. Please feel free to connect and reach out. And thank you very much, Bruce.
Well, I thank you. And of course, I thank all of our viewers. Please feel free to check out the website, brucehurwitzpresents.com, if you are interested in being a guest. And as I always like to conclude my podcasts with one little piece of advice: keep focused on success.